Fresh out the box! Fresh out the box. Fresh out the box.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Fresh Out the podcast where the three of us talk about podcast things. I'm the board game guru and game master extraordinary, Johannanon.
It's me, Casualty, CDG, co-host of Fresh Out the Box and Fresh Out the Podcast. I'm happy to be here today, gentlemen.
And so am I, the professional media and movie mastermind, the Funhouse, Drew Munhausen. And as a self-proclaimed movie mastermind, what a great week it is for me. We are finally in the post-Oscars 2023 Oscars era. So I can finally breathe a sigh of relief that we don't have to talk about a lot of these movies that I've been listening to endless podcast, reading too many articles, all those things about these movies. I can finally put it all behind me and look forward to more new releases for this year. Yeah, the Oscars happened. I know, Jahan, you said you watched some. Gary, did you keep up with the Oscars at all?
No, I had a really important weekend. We were just binge watching horrible reality dating shows on Netflix. We just were tearing through seasons of garbage reality TV.
That actually sounds like a mighty fine weekend, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so, I had to choose. Is it the Oscars? Do I need to look at the best films of the year, or should I watch MTV's worst productions over the past 10 years?
I would rather remove my own nipple with nail clippers.
I didn't realize that was an option.
It's always an option.
Oh, now I know how my time could have been better spent.
I don't like I like certain reality TV. Like Survivor's fine. The Circle was actually not too bad. I don't know.
The Circle was like my gateway drug to reality TV. I really liked The Circle, and then because of that, I would start branching out and watching a little more. And
I think I just get annoyed when there's like relationship stuff involved, and then you have to deal with all the peacocking, because that shit, like that behavior, really bothers me. It's really annoying to me. So I don't like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I wish that reality TV would take a note from the Oscars and allow people to slap the shit out of people live on camera.
Man, did you know Will Smith slapped Chris Rock last year?
Yeah, well, that was
boy.
not. It was last week. It was on Sunday.
Oh shit!
So actually, speaking of that, because obviously we spoke about it at length with the Chris Rock special last weekend, there were some jokes that were made at Will Smith's expense during the Oscars, but
Yes.
they never actually said his name. Like they never actually named him, and the jokes were actually super tasteful and like
pretty funny.
funny, I thought.
When Jimmy Kimmel said, like, if anyone's going to come up here and get jiggy with it.
And he said another one about something. He made a Hitch joke at one
He
point
did.
that
He
was
made a
also
Hitch
funny,
joke.
but I can't remember exactly what he said. But yeah, it was good. You know, it was a pretty traditional Oscars telecast. Like really felt kind of old school, but in a good way.
And when you say
Kimmel
a
hosted.
traditional Oscar telecast, you mean that there was a silver can and a green puppet came out of it and started being rude to people?
See, that's a traditional Oscar the Grouch. These are the traditional Academy Awards, is what I meant. I'm sorry, I should have
Oh.
clarified.
Okay.
I could see how anybody would get the two confused.
And
that's why I
anybody
did-
would make that mistake, Gary. It's okay.
That's why I didn't watch it, because I thought it was a special of the Muppets, and I thought, nah.
That would have made
So
me
you just thought because
more
I have a
like
toddler, that's why I'm just so gung ho about this that I've been so into it. I see now. It all just clicks.
it. And I'm
It
just a
all makes
weirdo.
sense. Yeah, so I made some predictions last week on the show. I honestly haven't listened back to see what my actual predictions were, but I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly, I think of the 8 awards that I gave predictions for, I think I got 7 out of 8 right.
It's not
I was
bad.
kind of hesitant. I think I said Brendan Fraser for Best Actor, but I was kind of hesitant between him and Austin Butler, but I said I thought Brendan Fraser was like the safer vote, and he did win. So there's that. I know I got Best Supporting Actress wrong because I ended up guessing Angela Bassett, and Jamie Lee Curtis was the surprise winner of that category. But yeah, as soon as that happened early on in the show, that Jamie Lee Curtis won Best Supporting Actress for Everything Everywhere All at Once, I was like, okay, Everything Everywhere is about to steamroll this whole competition. Like if they're giving Jamie Lee Curtis the kind of career recognition award here in this category, I think that this movie's going on to win it all, and it pretty much did.
If I'm not wrong, it replaced the Lord of the Rings: Return of the King as the most awarded movie in history.
So ish. So I'll read you some stats here. So Everything Everywhere All at Once was the first film since 2013's Gravity to win 7 Academy Awards. So the first film in a decade to win that many Academy Awards. It's the most awarded Best Picture winner since 2008's Slumdog Millionaire. And it's only the
man, that was a
third
good
film in
movie.
history to win in 3 out of the 4 acting categories. So, pretty interesting there. I believe, if I remember correctly, like Lord of the Rings: Return of the King, I think had 11 nominations and 11 wins, but it wasn't nominated for any of the acting categories or anything like that. Like it won a lot of the what's considered to be the below the line awards, whereas Everything Everywhere All at Once won 5 of the 6 of the kind of what's considered to be the above the line, meaning that the Best Picture, Best Director, the 4 acting awards, and the screenplay awards. And crazy thing about that too is that 7 of those 8 were won by A24, which is I think the first time in history that a studio has won 7 of the 8 top awards like that, because The Whale is an A24 film also. So yeah, so the only one of those top 8 that wasn't of those 8 awards that wasn't an A24 movie was Women Talking, which
Yeah.
Sarah Polley won. for
Yeah, the
Best Adapted
breakdown that
Screenplay.
I saw, I think, included like other award shows too, because it showed Return of the King having like over 300 like awards, and then
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. That was the stat. It's the most awarded in history. It's like all the shows combined.
Yeah, all the
Like,
shows
all the
combined.
critic circles, all the award. Yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once like schooled it. Like 50, 60 plus awards more.
yeah, it was
than
in
what
like
Return of the King
400s.
had.
It was crazy. Yeah,
Yes. I did see that stat as well. It's pretty crazy.
good for them.
Yeah, so as we said, Everything Everywhere All at Once won Best Director, Best Picture, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actor, Best Supporting Actress, Best Original Screenplay. Brendan Fraser won Best Actor for The Whale. Sarah Polley won for Best Original Screenplay for Women Talking. And then the other awards, like on the more technical front, there was a lot of All Quiet on the Western Front, which is a German remake of a war movie based on a famous novel, I believe. There's an old version of All Quiet on the Western Front that's considered a film classic. So this is a German remake that I actually watched in the lead up to the Oscars, and it's pretty good. It's super grim, like really grim. It's gory, gruesome, a lot of like war, body horror, just that, realism in a grody way. So, but it's good, and it won, and a lot of the things it won, best original score, best production design, best cinematography. I feel like it deserved. I mean, it was a really, really great movie on a technical front. It would never be my best picture pick by any means, and it was nominated. But the interesting thing about All Quiet on the Western Front is that it really wasn't in the conversation early on during the awards buildup. And it's a Netflix movie, and Netflix had kind of thrown all their chips behind some other movies, Blonde being one of them, the Ana de Armas Marilyn Monroe biopic, and they had another one called Bardo, which was the new Alejandro Inarritu film that critics panned pretty badly. Same with Blonde, actually. So Netflix has made some big power plays for Best Picture in the past, and you can tell they really, really want a Best Picture Oscar in the near future. But this year, they're ones that they had really gotten behind, didn't make it, and then All Quiet on the Western Front was kind of a surprise even to them, I think. And
can I be ignorant for a second and ask a few
course.
questions about this movie? We grew up in the era of Saving Private Ryan and Band of Brothers, and I watched a lot of that stuff growing up. And to me, I feel like I've seen it at this point. I've seen a World War II movie. I've seen it, and that's what it is. And a lot of times they have, great gritty cinematography or really good sound editing and things like that. But otherwise, I'm not sure what draws me to those World War II movies. The last one I watched was the one with Baby Spider-Man, where he was a medic who didn't want to hurt anybody.
Yeah, Hacksaw Ridge.
And I really liked Hacksaw Ridge. It was fine, but it wasn't better than any of the classics, in my opinion. Is this a World War II movie that you need to see? Is it like the new staple, the new benchmark, or is it one that can be missed?
Well, first off, it's a World War One film,
Okay.
so that's there's a little bit of there to differentiate it, but otherwise, from what you're saying, no, I mean I don't think so. It's just it's a lot more. I don't know if I would say it's anti-war, but it's really like the realities of war. Like these young 17-year-old kids that are excited to join. They're excited to join in the military. And the movie opens with showing a bunch of soldiers getting killed and then their uniforms being stripped off their bodies, sent to the tailors to patch up the gun holes and take the names off and then give them to the new kids. So like it's immediately grim off the bat. You're like, oh, okay, this is where we're going. So these new kids are coming in all excited to join the German military and defend their country, and they're getting handed the uniforms of previous,
The
soldiers that have been
bullet-riddled.
killed,
Oh,
and you're just
clothes.
immediately like,
Yeah.
oh boy, this is not going to be a fun ride, and it's not.
shop clothing.
It's just you're watching it and you're like, this is a very great technical achievement of a movie, but there's nothing happy in it. It's
Okay.
pretty grim.
I feel like I'm probably not gonna try to see this one.
It's not one that you can recommend. Be like, you should really watch this. It's so great. It is good, but it's grim. It's tough. There are parts where I had to look away. I was like, it was a tough watch.
I think maybe the reason I was able to get behind Hacksaw Ridge is because I knew that it was sort of a feel-good story, even though it was going to be a war movie. That it wasn't going to be totally hopeless like this one kind of sounds like it might be.
The last war movie I think I saw was Beer Run, I think, with Zac Efron.
Yeah, the Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, I think that was the last one I saw.
Yeah, I haven't
It
even
was-
seen that one.
It was
it any good?
not bad. It was not bad. It was much better than the premise led me to believe. I liked it.
One time on a Disney Plus show, I watched Zac Efron drink a bunch of different expensive water.
All right, it's alrighty.
Is the show, maybe it's the Netflix show, the one where he goes around to try to make the world feel like a better place.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there's an episode where he's just drinking fancy water with other fancy Hollywood people, and they're talking about different water qualities from around the world. And I'm just like, man, shut the fuck up, rich people, making me watch you drink water. I'm gonna slap you.
It's pretty
The other film, so leading up to the Oscars, I was trying to get in. I hadn't seen All Quiet on the Western Front, which I watched and we talked about. I hadn't seen Women Talking, which was the only other Best Picture nominee that I hadn't seen. So I watched that. I don't know if y'all are familiar with this movie. It's written and directed by Sarah Polley, but it's based off of a novel, but it's inspired by some real life events that's like within a Mennonite community, and it's all the women have been
Like from
you know,
Smash Bros?
assaulted, and they oh boy they've been assaulted, and they are all gathering to kind of decide what they want to do, if they want to leave this community, if they're going to stay, and so on and so forth. And you know, it lives up to its name. It's the majority of the film is this group of women sitting around talking and deciding what to do. However, the performers are really, really great. It's got Rooney Mara and Claire Foy and Jessie Buckley and Frances McDormand are all in it, and they're all actually really incredible. Like, these are some of our greatest current female actresses, in my opinion. But boy, this movie just it was a bit of a slog for me. It's been getting pretty. It's gotten a lot of high praise, but for me, it was just great performances, and it's like, I get it, but it's just it was a bit of a slog. So yeah, that's Women Talking. Feel bad that I don't have much more to say about it, but so I wanted to watch those leading up to the awards. And then lastly, I'm really glad that I did, but I rewatched Everything Everywhere All at Once, because I hadn't seen it since I saw it in theaters back like last April, I think. So truly almost a year ago. And I remember at the time seeing it and people tweeting like, this movie, you know, in a perfect world, this is the type of movie that would get recognized at the Academy Awards. And that seemed like a fever dream a year ago. And then the movie just stayed the course and really remained in the conversation, and in a way that movies in the Oscar race that come out that early in the year really don't stick around. So it was really interesting. I rewatched it. I still like it a lot. I remembered it being, obviously, it's a super weird movie. It's super strange, and I knew that, but I watched it again. I was like, this is somehow even weirder than I remember it being. Like, it's just so
because you're
out
noticing
there.
all the weird stuff you missed.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of little details or things. The things that stuck out this time were different. Like the costume design for Stephanie Sue's character, Joy. Like, all the different costumes and things that she
Her
gets
costumes
throughout
are
are
great.
just absolutely incredible. Like, blow me away. Obviously, I was watching Ke Huy Quan a little bit closer this time because I knew he was pretty much the closest thing to a sure bet at the Oscars for the acting awards. And he's really great in it. I mean, it was just the perfect role for him. He was really good, and Michelle Yeoh is great in it too. So I'm glad that everybody in it got recognized. Jamie Lee Curtis winning Best Supporting Actor for her part in this is still kind of head scratching to me. I get it. It's like become one of those career recognition awards where who knows if she'll get a chance again. It was her first time being nominated. She's pretty beloved in Hollywood. So like, I get it from that standpoint, but watching this again, I'm like, I cannot believe this is an Academy Award winning performance. Yeah, I still think Everything Everywhere All at Once is good. I think that on a rewatch, I was a little bit more grounded, even though it was still so weird. I feel like it wasn't quite as good as the first time I saw it, but it's still pretty great. And I'm happy that it won Best Picture just because I think it's just something different. Like, it's kind of a new precedent for the Academy. This is the type of movie that I think never could have won 10 years ago. And now here it is, basically sweeping the awards. If it'll set a new trend going forward, I don't know.
Dare I
It's
say
just,
it's sort of wacky compared to the things that have won in the past.
Right, like last year, I loved Coda, but there's a lot of people that were really anti that movie winning Best Picture, and it's kind of because it was like a stereotypical Best Picture winner. It was like a feel-good kind of schmaltzy,
It was
family story, but it worked for me.
and it's to in the Oscars there's always like a story to be told about a disability or about overcoming something. So I think Coda did that also. It had all the check marks for being an Oscar nominated movie, and it was great, and I loved it. Whereas, yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once may not have had all the check boxes where they were supposed to be, for sure.
Yeah. So it's just different. It's just different. I'm glad that it got recognized.
I'm glad too, man.
It's I think there's gonna be a lot of people that haven't seen it yet that are now going to be pushed to see it because it won Best Picture. So they're like, oh, I guess I have
they're
to
gonna
check
be
this
like,
out.
what the hell?
Yeah, is my 71-year-old father going to be now compelled to watch this movie because it won Best Picture? And is it going to be
I hope so.
his style? I don't know if it will be. I'll be interested to see what his
butt plugs and dog nunchucks. That's all you really need to know. No, so I mean I think it's great that this movie won. I was really excited for it to win. Obviously a lot of like historic wins here. What were all the firsts? Because I feel like there were some firsts here for the categories. I'm not sure if Michelle Yeoh was she the first Asian woman to win Best Actress.
I believe so.
Okay.
I don't want to speak out of turn. Let me see here.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like Stephanie Sue's performance was definitely better. The Jamie Lee Curtis's definitely deserved the award better. But, like, yeah, I heard a lot of other reviewers talking about how it was kind of that lifetime achievement thing. Like, this was their way, because they mentioned that they did it with, like, DiCaprio and a few other people. And, I mean, it's fine.
And had Angela Bassett won it, it would have been kind of a similar thing. Like it would have been kind of a career recognition award for her as well.
Yeah,
but I do think her performance
better,
was like it was like it's a very different performance.
It was a powerful performance, man.
To say the
John,
least.
to your
Yeah, it was.
point, I went and looked it up, and according to NPR.org, I'd say they're a pretty good source.
Yeah.
They say, yeah, for the first time in its 95-year history, the Academy of Motion Pictures Awards has awarded an Oscar for Best Actress to leading role to an Asian woman. So there you go.
Yep.
95 years, first one. You were absolutely correct.
Yeah, so that's huge, and like I don't know, this whole movie in general is big for the Asian community, and the fact that it's winning the Oscars is huge for the Asian community. James Hong, when they were accepting other rewards, mentioned like a few like when he was starting out, they would tell him to do things more Asian, and like they wanted stereotypical things and blah blah blah. And he went on. And he said things are different now. Like we're here, we did this, and like so this is huge for the Asian community. On top of that, the victory of this movie, I think, is going to change the Oscars in a very positive way because something like this won, which means anything. It's time to reconsider. People aren't going to make Coda again. They're going to try. Finally, they're going to try new stuff, and like this movie's so weird. This movie is the subject matter is so bizarre. This is something that I like. This is something I'm into. I like the weird sci-fi multiverse like craziness, but like that's definitely not a mainstream thing. It's not for everybody. But somehow they managed to bring it to a mainstream audience, and it was accepted and it was liked and it did well. So that means a lot of exciting things for movies, and maybe some of these producers and studios that have been just so stuck in this like formula of this makes money, like maybe they'll finally try something new every now and again. Maybe
sparked an
more risks.
Interesting memory that I had, John. Connor was talking to us last week and said that he didn't think that Everything Everywhere All at Once could have happened without the Marvel multiverse happening first.
Yeah,
and I thought that's an interesting thing for us to kind of talk about because I'm not sure if I do or don't agree with it. I'm not sure where I'm at, but certainly bringing multiverses into the forefront and making it this thing that even kids understand and every parents can understand it in the background. I would say that Marvel and Disney sort of did pave the way for movies like this to maybe be more accepted and be more mainstream.
Marvel definitely taught like my parents about multiverse, like at least in the fictional sense. Obviously, it's not, this isn't, we're not doing real quantum physics here or anything. Blah blah blah.
And neither-
We're not
yeah.
that smart, but yeah, it definitely taught my parents about the concept a little bit more, and they follow it. You know what I mean? Marvel definitely created this cushion of understanding throughout the collective consciousness of humanity to kind of like, ferment this into existence, to make it something that people could accept. Because like, once again, the mainstream appeal here wouldn't be possible to people. Would be like, what was that? I don't understand. But now, they've seen Loki, they've seen Ant-Man, they kind of get it a little bit, they understand a little bit more, and yeah, it's interesting.
It's
It's
like the
definitely, I could talk about
multiverse
that
is-
all day.
It's been around in comics for so long that I think they definitely kind of, own the trademark there, metaphorically speaking. As far as on film goes, like, we saw Spider-Man No Way Home and Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, some of these films to do it. And I think that
Spider-Verse.
of the Marvel films, of the current MCU films that have done multiversal things, I think that No Way Home is the most successful of those personally. But I would say that Everything Everywhere All at Once does it. It is even more successful than any of the MCU, at least on screen, goes. I'd say Everything Everywhere All at Once is probably the most successful on-screen version of the multiverse thus far.
The interesting thing about that is, so the Marvel multiverse, like, that's a lot easier to digest. This one went hard. It went all the way.
Yeah.
It's like, here we're rocks. We're rocks here. And it's like, what do? It's like we don't do anything. We're rocks. And like, that's really high concept, man. That's hard to get to a mainstream audience. And like, they did it. I don't know. It's definitely, I could say that Marvel definitely helped them make that leap, I think.
Yeah, they somehow managed to do this and not spoon feed it to you, which means that, yeah, maybe audiences have been educated enough by the MCU and other film franchises to be mentally prepared for it, in a way that they wouldn't have been even 5 years ago. So yeah, we can definitely give the MCU credit.
I almost wonder if Everything Everywhere All at Once had come out 10 or 15 years ago, if it would have been panned as being stupid. Just flat stupid. Not that you needed to learn anything or rewatch it, that it was just dumb. But I feel like we've come far enough that it's not stupid, and that if you think it's stupid, maybe you're not thinking about it high concept enough. Maybe you're stupid if you think it's stupid. That's what I'm saying.
All I know is that a professional musician got on stage at the Oscars and performed with hot dog fingers. That's all I know. And I enjoy that fact about our slice of the multiverse.
We should have pooled our money together, because I saw like 2 or 3 weeks ago they were selling official props from Everything Everywhere All at Once, and one of the hot dog finger gloves was one of the props that was for sale. And we should have bought it and then used it as a write-off for our show. That way our show owned one of the hot dog hands.
That'd be a really fun fantasy football trophy.
Hot dog fingers?
Yeah, hot dog fingers. It's like, he who wears the hot dog fingers is best at fantasy football. It'd be great.
Football
actually,
rings on these hot dog fingers.
speaking of the MCU, it's worth noting that Angela Bassett's nomination for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever in Best Supporting Actress is the first time anybody from a Marvel MCU movie has been nominated in an acting category.
That was another thing
here,
that I had
I
heard.
thought... Go ahead, John.
That was another thing I had heard, was that like one of the reasons she didn't win it was because the Academy doesn't want to recognize MCU films in that way.
I think
It's
that Angela
possible.
Bassett's performance in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever was better than Jamie Lee Curtis's performance in Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh,
And
definitely.
a rewatch of either one of those is not going to change my mind about how I feel about
No,
it.
no
Angela
hate to
Bassett
Jamie Lee
knocked it
Curtis,
out
but
of
I
the park.
absolutely.
But here's the thing about that is, like, I really think those two were the front runners because of the career achievement level. I thought Stephanie Sue in Everything Everywhere All
it.
at Once was better than both of them.
Killed
So
it.
I thought, I thought she was incredible, and she really stuck out again rewatching it. And I think that she's just kind of in the position of like, I'm just happy to be nominated. Like I'm
Bro,
just happy to be invited to the table.
What a difficult role.
Oh
What a-
yeah,
What
and
a
she was great.
strange. Like how no one's ever done what she did before. No one's ever had a role like that before, and she killed it. She killed it. She killed it. She killed it. I mean, like, once again, no hate on Jamie Lee Curtis. Love her. I'm happy that she got recognized. But Stephanie Sue, like, dude, she definitely deserved it. But she seemed happy with the result, anyways.
Just since you guys are saying no hate for Jamie Lee Curtis, I'll go ahead and I'll throw shade at Jamie Lee Curtis. If you want to fight me, I'll fight you, Jamie Lee Curtis. Here on Fresh Out the podcast, we always like to challenge a celebrity fight every now and then. I will fight Jamie Lee Curtis one-on-one.
Let me be clear here.
It's
You're
the
not
first-
even saying you don't like her. You're just saying that you would fight her.
I'm saying that, yeah, since you guys are saying that you support her, I'll fight her. I want to make sure she's not getting nothing but love from us. So let's go 66.6% love from Fresh Out the podcast, and at 33.3%, I'll fight you, Jamie Lee Curtis. I will fight you.
33.3% throwing hands. All right,
And I saw her in that movie, dog. I feel like she might be able to fuck you up.
Yeah, dude, she's got hot dogs for fingers. I'll just eat her alive.
She's also a pro wrestler, though.
Oh yeah, she does get pro wrestling ability.
Bro,
in
it was
that.
awesome.
You're right.
Without a
She
doubt.
does a backbreaker.
I'm definitely a pro wrestler in an alternate universe, and I will take no questions at this time.
Yeah, that's fair.
The last thing that I'll say about the Oscars before we move on is it is worth noting, the viewership for the Oscars and actually for awards shows in general across the board have been just plummeting in recent years in the streaming age. Like, at one point the Oscars used to get like Super Bowl like ratings because it was a big Sunday night awards show. There's nothing else on and everybody tuned in to watch it. And now that's just not the case for any awards show. It's the Emmys, the Grammys, the Oscars, they're all having this same problem. The Oscars did have a 12% viewership increase from last year, up to about a little over 18 million viewers, which is pretty good for an award show. It's still like the third lowest ratings they've had in history, but that's just because the past 3 years or so, people really haven't been tuning into these shows. But I think that 12% increase is really due to a lot of these nominees. Like Everything Everywhere All at Once was kind of a cultural phenomenon. You had Top Gun Maverick and Avatar The Way of Water, which were two of the highest grossing movies of the year that everybody went to see. Like my father's tuning into the Oscars because he wants to see if Top Gun wins anything. Like that's just the way it is. Elvis was a huge success, a box office success. I don't know. There were a lot more. Talking about again, Angela Bassett from the MCU nominated for acting awards. So there's a lot more mainstream titles throughout the Oscars this year that I think that really helped it out.
I
this
actually
is something
saw
that they
stuff.
need to continue to do. Right, exactly. It's not. There's been years where the Best Picture nominees are like, I haven't heard of any of these. You have to be a true cinephile
Which
to really
I've
be
always
following
thought
them.
was really dumb.
Yeah, so this is something that they should continue to push, is some of these big mainstream successes kind of making it into the Best Picture conversation. There were more nominees added to the Best Picture category. It went up from 5 to 10 for a long time because of The Dark Knight was left out back in 2008. They've been trying to kind of figure out what they needed to do since then, and this is the first year I feel like in a long time they've had some mainstream success in that regard.
Yeah. I really liked some of my favorite stuff. I mean, Ke Huy Quan, when he won, that was crazy. The presenter almost started crying when she read his name off. That was crazy. But then when they won Best Picture, Harrison Ford was presenting, and so Indiana Jones and Short Round hugged on stage. And it was pretty crazy.
I can't help but think surely that wasn't a coincidence. Like, I think that they had to have known Everything Everywhere All at Once had a really good shot, and if you have Harrison Ford up there, you're gonna get them on the stage at the same time. Like, surely that was
Bro, they
planned.
did like the big hug. They were crying. It was crazy, man. Like, it was so cool. That
was a
happened.
prediction that came true. They botched it 2 years ago when everybody kind of thought Chadwick Boseman was going to win, Best Actor after he had passed away, and they put the Best Actor category after Best Picture. So they'd already given out Best Picture, and they were saving Best Actor to end the show, thinking it would be like this big Chadwick Boseman moment, and then Anthony Hopkins won. So the show kind of ended with like a wet fart
Womp womp.
because nobody was expecting it, and it didn't have the big emotional payoff, even though Anthony Hopkins is like a national treasure. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like sometimes you take those risks and they don't work out. And not that I'm saying Harrison Ford giving out Best Picture is a risk, because it's really not. But it just provided a cool moment.
Yeah, I'm sure he would have known
I had
whoever
a
was
dollar.
on stage.
If I had $1 for every time that I ended a show with a wet fart, I would need a whole new wardrobe.
Oh boy! Speaking of new wardrobes and zombies and stuff, that's my segue into The Last of Us,
That was
because
a
we've
wet
talked
fart
about
of
it.
a segue there, buddy.
It sure was. I'm not even going to try to defend it. No, I had to get out of Asker talk.
Look what
Had
you
to get out
did,
of Oscar
Gary.
talk and get into The Last of Us, which we've talked about periodically. I think we talked about it after the first 3 episodes, and now here we are. The season's done, and I'm curious just to get y'all's thoughts on The Last of Us now that it's all said and done.
We didn't really
this first
talk
season.
about the episode before this either, did we?
No.
Talked about it briefly last week, I
Briefly.
think.
The episode before this was incredible. Ellie had a lot of crazy moments. Ellie was awesome. But this episode, holy shit, man! This episode went hard. Watching them bond, watching them grow, watching their relationship like hit like a plateau was pretty cool. I really liked the giraffe scene. I was like, yeah, that's a good moment. That's fun. But yeah, I liked the way this ended. I was surprised by the ending because I guess I misunderstood how the game ended or something. I don't know, but
Oh, it was pretty much like beat for beat the same as the game.
yeah, I heard that this was textbook the game, and I actually saw some
Yeah.
side by side comparisons. I was like, oh, okay, that was pretty crazy, man. Joel go hard, and I liked this episode.
How about you, Gary? I know you literally just finished watching it literally minutes before we started recording this podcast.
Yes, I was trying to make 17 minutes of viewing fit into 10 minutes of time, and that's not how time works, so I had to watch just a little bit extra once we were getting started just to finish it off. I think The Last of Us came out really strong as a show, and maybe from the first or second episode, you wanted to see a second season. We got approval for and the go-ahead for a second season. And that didn't really change. I think the way that they handled the infected all throughout the series, they did a really good job of keeping them scary and lethal. Every episode when I'm watching Ellie, I'm just like, good Lord, this girl can act. In the finale, she's talking to Joel about a suicide attempt that he had in the past. And watching the emotion, the expressions, the look on her face, sort of understanding the depth of an adult suicide was just amazing. Watching her be able to carry that scene and the weight of that scene, talking to her friend about that moment. The series is fantastically written. It's amazingly acted, and I think it's better on screen than it was as a video game. I love The Last of Us, and I'm looking forward to the second season. I think they do a great job telling stories, and they couldn't have picked better performers to do it.
I think that I am, like, I guess, a little bit more reserved, but not to say, not in like a bad way. Let me be clear. I thought the show was great. Pretty much across the board. I thought it was really good. But for me, I feel like it really peaked with that third episode back when we talked about it and kind of gushed over it then. And for me, that I think gave me a tease for what I was hoping the show would do, is like really take things from the game and really expand upon them in a way and give some cinematic quality to stories that are true side characters in the game and giving them more background. So I really loved like what that episode did. As the show went on, it really did just become more of a like beat for beat the game, which
Yeah.
is fine. I've played through the game twice, so I'm like pretty well versed in the game. So not to say like that the show's not good, because it's very good. Like the acting's good, the production's great, everything looks great. I think Pedro Pascal brings kind of a cool just layers to Joel that you can't get from the game in that way, kind of like what Gary was saying with these performances. But especially in the last few episodes, I just kind of felt like I'm just watching the game play out with actors, which is fine. Like the draft scene is straight out of the game. That happens in the game almost like pretty much exactly as
Yeah.
it does there. The finale the same, but it was all really well executed and done. So it's like I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. It just kind of is what it is. Like I would say for me personally, the show is like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. Like I really, really enjoyed my time with it, and I'm really looking forward to future seasons, because I think we always kind of knew in our hearts that the first season of The Last of Us show would just be the first game pretty much
Yeah.
straight up. So it's not like it's unexpected. The Last of Us Part 2 video game, I think, lends itself to them being able to take a lot more creative liberties in the show. Kind of similar to, you know, how in Game of Thrones, I think the first 2 seasons were the first 2 books, straight up. Like first season was the first book, second season was the second book, and then the third book they started to split it. Like that was
They
the
really
third and
start
fourth season.
to diverge from the books when Arya is traveling back to Winterfell. That's when things really start to go to the left. That's when they start making choices. This is definitely shot for shot. I mean, because I've seen a lot of side by side comparisons. But yeah, 2 amazing.
I like those. I like those TikToks where it's the video
I do
game
too.
performance versus the the show performance. I like those, but I do think the second game,
Yeah.
similar to like a Game of Thrones book, I think will be split up over the course of multiple seasons. I think they have a lot more room to grow in that way, and the story can be spread out a little more. But the way that the first season ends is directly implicates everything that happens beyond this in the
Yeah.
future game.
Where you said
so-
that you thought maybe The Last of Us had peaked in episode 3 when we talked about the big hubbub, then I would say that the hospital scene in the finale will sort of always stick out in my mind as being maybe one of the big scenes of that show. I didn't think that the whole show fell
Those
flat
nuts.
after that, but one of my sort of pseudo complaints, not really a complaint, about The Last of Us is that there aren't a lot of big cliffhanger endings where you're wondering what's going to happen next. You're always just sort of a day in the life of how shitty this apocalypse is. So there's like a week to week thing that doesn't really make me like want to necessarily come back to it. There's no like hunger where I need to get back to that story. But when I watch it, I like it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that at all. It is kind of each episode kind of stands on its own in a way, which is nice. But yeah, I think that makes sense. And I think for me, in a way, it's like you want to have your cake and eat it too, right? Like I almost wish that I hadn't played the game in watching the show, because I really wondered what it would be like to see the finale of the show,
It's dope.
not having played the game.
I didn't play the game, so I know, and I like
The game, I mean, that's obviously that scene in the hospital is the finale of the game. Like, you've made it this way, and then all of a sudden it becomes like kind of a run and gun,
I didn't see any of it
shoot
coming,
'em.
man.
shoot 'em up part of the game. Yeah, and I didn't see it coming when I played the game either. So like it was incredible storytelling that I hadn't seen in the game. I think that the game is one of the best games of all time, to be frank. So
Yeah, The Last of
The
Us is on
show-
Steam right now, and I was like,
it's worth picking up. The Last of Us Part 2 is also like is incredible. And
I was
because y'all haven't played the games, I don't want to go into what even
Yeah.
happens in that, because I want to see how they do it in the show too, or if they, kind of subvert any expectations or whatnot.
One of my complaints in the Last of Us video game and in video games in general, this is a reason why I like sandbox games personally, is I don't like that part of a video game where your head's on a swivel, you're killing it, you're doing everything you're supposed to do, and then a cutscene comes along where you get hit in the back of the head with a rifle and you get split up from your partner. I hate that in a game. It's like, bro, I'm playing tactical. I kick ass. You didn't sneak up on me. No, you didn't. Just because the video said you. I get it as a storytelling tool, and it's easier for me to watch it on a show than it is for me to play it as a game. So from that standpoint, I actually like some of the scenes of Last of Us as a show more, because they a lot of time have that one party member's in danger, split your party dynamic.
Yeah.
And unless it's my fault, I don't want my party split. I don't want to get attacked from behind unless I screwed up.
I like it. I like when they do it where it's the one that you're not playing that works a little better. Like they had to go off. But yeah, it's hard to do in TTRPGs too, where it's like, oh, you guys got caught. You know,
You got bonked on the head and you all got arrested and you can't do anything. This is just a narrative moment. We're moving to the next scene.
I try not to do those. Yeah.
They can be annoying, but I get it from a narrative perspective, and it's way easier for me to chew that down as a show than as a game.
I was really happy with the way this episode started, though, with Ashley Johnson, the voice actress that plays Ellie in the games, giving a dynamite performance as Ellie's mother.
Is that a realization for you, Gary? Did you not realize it?
Yeah, so like when she was on screen, we were like, damn, she looks familiar, and she looks a lot like Ellie. And so, yeah,
Yep.
now it's like, oh, that's who she
Ashley
was. Yeah, we did
Johnson was Ellie in the games. She's of Critical Role fame as well. She's also in the Avengers. Captain America saves her, I believe, in a building, which is pretty cool. But yeah, seeing her was great, and then I liked the whole like so Ellie pretty much has Blade's backstory, where
Well, and it's worth noting that is a scene that's not in the game. So
Okay.
that is for the show, which has been kind of a long time, I think, fan theory of like, oh, what if Ellie's mom got bit while she was pregnant, or something
Yeah.
of the sort. And so to actually see them do that for the show was cool. That was a revelation.
It was
That was
sick.
not in the game, and it was a really, really well executed scene. So yeah, we had Troy Baker that was the last episode, right? 8 is when Troy Baker was in it.
Yeah, Troy Baker was in
And
the one
then-
with the religious cult, and that was awesome too. But yeah, Ashley Johnson, I mean, she gave a great performance, but it was crazy how well the fact that she was Ellie works for this, because like you're like, oh wow, like that's Ellie's mom. Like you could see where Ellie gets everything from, and it's also because she's also Ellie, and it's weird how that works out. I don't know. She was just such a badass, man. She fought that thing while she was giving birth.
Yeah, I thought that was a really effective scene.
I mean, women could do everything we could do, except while wearing heels and giving birth. On top of everything else, so, like it's pretty crazy to watch those kinds of things and think about what they have to go through that we don't.
How many
guess-
seasons of The Last of Us would you guys tune in for weekly before you've had enough of this show?
5, 6.
Yeah, that's tough. Like, it depends, I guess, on if I think that they can get 3 seasons out of the games as they currently exist. But I think that there's room for them to do other spin-offs or side stories with other characters that maybe aren't in the games and give some newer
Or
content.
maybe a
So,
Last of Us 3.
Yeah, or maybe the Last of Us 3 game will come out at some point and then they'll be able to continue it on. I don't know.
That would be cool if the success of the show pushed and funded another game.
It might. They are heavily involved in the show, and this show's had great viewership. It's had great numbers. It's actually gained viewers as the show went on, where most shows lose them. It's actually hit. I believe it beat Game of Thrones House of the Dragon out for their finale viewership, or something along those lines.
It doubled the viewership of the premiere. I know that much. Of Last of Us. The Last of Us finale was double the viewership,
Which I
guess
believe
within the first 24 hours or whatever than of the premiere.
Which I believe is an abjuration of like the usual, right? That's not normal. Like
No,
normally
that's
it's less, and so that's
Right.
crazy. Like they're breaking a lot of the rules. The show's definitely going to get approved for a new season, and people are already speculating that Bella Ramsey is going to get recast as Ellie. Blah blah blah. But the people that the heads of the show said already on Twitter that the role is hers for as long as she wants it. We would only recast her if she wanted to leave, and so that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm happy with this. 9 or 10 out of 10 for me on this. I would watch 5 more seasons. I don't want Walking Dead. I don't want 13 seasons. I don't want that.
No.
That's as soon as Drew started talking about tertiary stories and spin-offs, I was like, oh no, please don't. Just let it be.
Right.
Let it be 3. 3 sounds good. Let it be 3. And then if they come out with another Last of Us game, maybe you can go to 4 or 5.
I say this as someone who's fully intending on watching The Walking Dead City of the Dead. So, like, we'll see how that goes. They finally, for whatever reason, at the end of that show, they decided to make it interesting again. And I was like, come on, like, why'd you wait till, like, why didn't you do this 4 seasons ago? But whatever. Last of Us Certified Fresh by Jahan.
It is nice that it's an HBO show because HBO does seem to be able to have a little bit of restraint in some ways. I mean, they just Succession has been a big success for them, especially on the awards front. I don't think Succession gets the same viewership numbers as something like The Last of Us does, but it's popular among critics and it's been like an Emmy darling. And they announced that this upcoming season of Succession that starts later this month is the last season. And it's only the 4th season. So, like, they don't have any issue of ending a show if they think it's the right time and that the story has come to an end. So I respect that, even if it's shows that I love and I could watch a whole lot of. End it when you need to end it. Don't keep it dragging on. Like, The Walking Dead, I think, is the best comparison you could make, as you said, Jahan.
Yep.
Or Gary, whoever said it.
That was me, and they really beat that dead horse.
And then also, I just wanted to bring up, so we've kind of been talking spoilers about this already anyway, so it's not like I need a spoiler warning, but the show does manage to it's one of the classic debates, right? Like, kill one person to save potentially millions, or,
it's the trolley problem,
or not, and what you would do. But I think that what it does, interestingly enough, and this is what Neil Druckmann, who's the game, he's the one from Naughty Dog that was like one of the creative visionaries of this game, and he helped with the show, is he said, like, it's all about what a parent, like a parent's love for their child, and like, that a parent that would do anything for their child, and we've really seen it by the end of, like, Ellie has really stepped into the role of the daughter that he lost in a sense, and he would do anything to protect her, and but I love that classic debate and how well that works here. Is like, is it worth one life to potentially save millions?
The answer
for Joel, obviously no.
The answer is
It's
yes, but if you're trying to kill, like, my daughter, I mean, I would shoot you in the face. Like, yeah, I
Right.
get it.
Yeah, exactly.
I get it completely. Joel is wrong, but I would also be wrong, like...
Yeah, it's a really human story.
It's very human.
At the base of it are, the emotions and the connections that humans have, and you can certainly see where he's coming from. And yeah, the whole time I'm thinking, well, now he's the bad guy. He's definitely the bad guy. He's not in his own mind. He's justified, but someone who's removed from this world, Joel is like chaotic, neutral. He's not even chaotic good.
Yeah.
Just don't get in his way and you won't die. But it's not a good guy.
Joel's
Joel's not a
the
good guy,
bad
no.
guy in that scenario it plays heavily into the future of the series. I'll put it that way. And the lie that he told to Ellie is huge moving forward, which it's kind of crazy because The Last of Us Part 2 came out in 2020. The first Last of Us game came out in 2013, and it ended the same way. The first game with Ellie asking, if what Joel told her was the truth, and he sticks to his story, and she says okay, and that's exactly how the first game ends. And so there's a lot of that coming back in the future, and I love it. It's going to be good. I think it's going to make for a really good show, and like I said, I just think there's a lot more creative leaps that can be taken with the story, and it's definitely becomes a bit more epic in scale.
Isn't
That
there
second game is so
also
good.
a X amount of time passage between Last of Us 1 and 2? Don't just a few years go by?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so that gives them definitely, like you said, some time to play with, and they like doing their little timeline jump around. So yeah, that gives them a lot to play with here.
They're good at the timeline jump around. It's not very jarring. They do it well.
Whoever at HBO approves stories, I don't know whose job it is, but whoever allows HBO shows to play with time, they do a good job. All the HBO shows did. I thought House of the Dragon did
House
a
of the
great
Dragon.
job.
House of the Dragon did a surprisingly good job because it was pretty. They jumped around a lot. But yeah,
It is a 4-year difference between the first game and the second game storyline. So
yeah. What he did was fucked up, but like also, I've heard some arguments about it, and they make sense. You know, there's just this one doctor who, like, is he gonna design, develop, and manufacture and distribute the cure all by himself? You know, like, there's no guarantee that it would work. And on top of
True.
all that, it's really weird. From me personally, that like they didn't try anything else. They're just like, let's harvest that brain. Like they didn't try to centrifuge her blood or extract DNA or like maybe attempt a
Take
spinal
brain
tap.
cell and try to duplicate the brain cells.
Yeah, they didn't try anything. There's like, gotta scoop out that brain. and like and also, the worst decision they made, Marlene fully knows who Joel is, knows his reputation, knows everything about the guy, and she's just like, oh, yeah, take this guy to his car unhandcuffed and fully conscious,
And shoot him if he acts up.
and shoot it, like, and it's like, you know, she knows him. She knows everything she knows all the shit he's done, and she even comments on, like, how did you get here by yourself? I barely did with 5 armed guards. And like, and she's like, here's 2 of my guys that barely helped me get here. I don't know. It seemed like a really questionable choice. She should have drugged them and dropped them on the side of the road. Like, you know, like, I don't know. Just those are a couple of the
If we're
pick
gonna
aparts.
pick apart some
Those are a
strange
couple of
things,
the pick aparts.
I've got one too.
Okay.
Whenever they're going to see the giraffe, and
Yeah.
she goes up and drops the ladder, and she's like, "Joel, you've got to see this!" But then she runs up like 5 more flights to get line of sight
Yeah,
to
it
the
didn't
giraffes. I'm
make any
like,
sense.
what did she see? How did she see it? How can he not see it as soon as he climbs the ladder? Why are they still running upstairs?
Yeah.
She runs around like
totally
6 blind
stuck out to me
corners.
too.
Yeah. Okay. So if
Brought
we're just
me out
picking
of the
stuff
show.
apart- Yep. Just
It
wanted
was
to put that
it
there.
was very video game moment.
Yeah.
The only way I could see
That's
that
hilarious. I had the same thought 100%.
the only way I could see how it would work is if she saw like the torso of the giraffe go past the window. It was like, oh shit, and then ran up the stairs, and like that would explain why he didn't see it. Blah blah blah. Why she kept going, but still, even then, it was still kind of silly. But
Yeah, she did not have line of sight to those giraffes. Don't lie to me.
I don't know.
All right, yeah, I'm also Jahan. I'm gonna agree with you. I'm gonna certify this fresh out the box. I'm gonna put my stamp of approval on Last of Us Season 1.
Excellent.
For sure, fresh out the box. I just had to have that, the grounded, like, I guess my critique was kind of the classic, like, the book is better kind of thing, but I'm not saying the game is better. It's like the game's the same. Like they're pretty in lockstep with each other, which I don't think is a bad thing. And I still think that The Last of Us is the best on-screen video game adaptation that we've had. I mean, it's not that it's a high
not in a
bar.
universe
It
where
is-
Doom exists.
Fair enough. Old James the
Like
Rock
you guys
Johnson in
haven't
that
seen
one.
the first Mortal Kombat movie.
Or the third one.
All right. Well, I think that wraps up our Last of Us discussion, which leads us to just the rest of what we've been watching, which it looks like all of us only have like a handful of things. We can actually go to Jahan. I see on your list you have The Mandalorian, which I'm assuming we've all watched. Gary's nodding. So, do you want to talk about The Mandalorian real quick, Jahan?
Only every day. So we're back at it with Pedro Pascal crushing it once again as Daddy Numero Uno.
Yeah, PP having another big year.
Yeah, I mean it's nuts that he has two shows that are this like of this caliber and of this popularity on at the same time. That's
I think PP
bananas.
might not ever have to work again.
Oh, he doesn't have to anymore. No, he already did the thing, but I mean, good for him. Good for him. He deserves every moment of this success. But yeah, so The Mandalorian episode 2, you guys both saw it, correct? Right? That's what was happening. Finally, they answered the question that we've all been asking since the first episode of the season. Is yes, Bo-Katan just sits in that chair all day. That's really what she do be doing up in there.
Being the king is hard, bro.
Being the king's hard. I liked that. He flew all the way to that one planet. What planet is that where the lady that fixes up his stuff is? Is that Tatooine?
Isn't she on Tatooine?
Is it Tatooine? Yeah.
Yeah,
Think so.
she made some joke about him coming to take out Boba Fett, didn't she?
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's Tatooine. It's funny that he went to Tatooine to just pick up droid parts or whatever. I'm glad that they circumvented the quest we were worried about where he was going to be like, I need droid parts, and that she just gave him a droid. Makes a lot more sense.
But that's not the droid that he needed for the project. I think he still might get that IG bot after
He still
all.
might, but I just didn't want that to be what we're waiting for, because that's annoying.
Yeah, it's not the primary quest. You're right. Thank God.
Thank God it's just a
not
side
robot
quest. Side
part
quest, side quest, fine. You do you, whatever. But yeah, I'm not terribly
Han
irked.
just threw out a "you do you" at Din Djarin, the Mandalorian.
You do you, Din Djarin. But yeah, and also the fact that he stopped off at Tatooine is also mitigated to me, because I was annoyed. It's like, why? Like, there are droids elsewhere. Like, why'd you gotta fly? But we have, since we have argued about why everyone's always on Tatooine. Tatooine's a pretty central planet to the whole Galactic Empire, so it makes sense that it was on the way. Whatever.
I don't mind a quick stop in for a hot minute, and then continuing on.
I don't
the
mind a quick
quest,
stop.
rather than the
Also-
whole main storyline being set there.
Yeah.
During this timeline, you got to remember there's intergalactic police blockading all sorts of different parts of the galaxy.
That's
so
fair.
getting in and getting out, getting trade is hard to do. Tatooine is a crime syndicate planet, so this is exactly where someone like him would have to go. With a ship with no numbers and being a hitman, he doesn't have very many options. He
a good
can't just go
point.
to Walmart and buy his stuff and show his ID.
It's fair. Yeah, and then
I do think.
yeah.
I was just gonna say, with the show, it remains to be seen because we're only 2 episodes in, so we got a long way to go. But I do like that. I feel like there is kind of the overarching plot of him going to the Mines of Mandalore and yada yada to become a Mandalorian. Yeah, that seems like to be kind of the overall main mission right now, but it still feels like a bit smaller in scale than the past seasons, but in like a good way. Like, it just feels like I kind of like that the Mandalorian's out doing his Mandalorian thing, and in the first season, I remember complaining a few years ago, it was just before we even had the podcast, but when it started to get kind of like episode of the week, midway through that season, I did not like it as much. But then I felt like at the end, it brought it all back together and in a way that I liked. And this one feels like it's doing a bit more planet jumping in a way that I like. Like, yeah, every episode, give me a new planet or give me new creatures or give me whatever. And it's really doing that in a way that I think Star Wars fans have been asking for that for a long time. Like, as we've said, get us off Tatooine, show us new planets, show us new creatures, and the Mandalorian's really doing that
What did
in a
you
way
think
that I
of those
enjoy.
big cave ogre things that he fought?
I liked them.
I liked those things too. I liked
liked
those things better than the bug monster at the end of the episode. I liked the bug monster fine, but I'm a big fan of the
robot
practical
guy?
monsters and yeah.
I-
Bug
man,
robot
I like
guy.
the
I'm
robot
all
guy.
about. Yeah, man, I'm all about the spooky robot guy.
That guy, that character design was the grease, dude. That was
I
so
loved
good.
the design of it. I thought the design of it was great. I didn't think it looked good, but just give me the guys in cheesy rubber suits playing space monkeys,
That's
or
fair.
whatever they
They
are.
looked exactly. They looked almost exactly like the primate form of the creatures from the movie Evolution.
I thought they looked like the cave trolls from Oblivion, or the frost trolls.
They do. They do look like trolls. They look like Elder Scrolls trolls for sure. Yeah, I saw that too.
When I first saw them, before they started to zoom up on them and show what they were, I thought they were wild Gamorreans. I thought they were just like pig folk with long hair, and I was like, "Oh, this is awesome! Wild Gamorreans in the ruins of Mandalore."
I thought they were
but they're
Morlocks
still
from Time Machine. From Time Machine. Yeah. I liked it. I liked it a lot. And yeah, the bug robot creature that set the trap was awesome. That was so cool. It was such a departure from the typical aliens. Like, it wasn't a cheesy I also love that too. I love Muppet design. I love all that stuff. But this character was created with fear in mind. He was actually frightening. And I think Star Wars and horror could meet a little more, especially with all the demon mythology and stuff with the dark side of the Force. But anyways, I thought this creature was really cool. I really liked Mandalore as a planet. I liked the way it was designed. I loved the ruined surface. They were cut off. They did the classic we can't call out from the surface kind of thing. I loved how he taught Grogu to navigate on the way there. I love that he almost immediately had to use that information to save him. What was the bug doing? Was it taking his blood?
It looked like it shot him in the neck, if I were to guess, with like a paralysis toxin. And then the little bug guy got out of his big mech and was gonna probably suck the juices out of him. Like
he plugged him in to a pump. He plugged him, like he stabbed him with something, and yeah, I think it was sucking his blood out.
Yeah, I think so. I think he's draining his juice. I think he's getting his juices.
That was messed up, dude.
And he reminded me of Grievous too, and I love General Grievous.
He did.
He gave me Grievous vibes also.
Major Grievous
could have
vibes.
been more spooky. You know what I mean? Grievous could have been around longer. He could have been more terrifying. He was kind of cool. He was just used in a cartoony way in a cartoony movie. So being able to see another creature like this that's like half human, half
because Grievous had organs.
Yes, and so does this thing, right?
Yeah,
you can see its little
it's like a hybrid living droid thing.
Yeah, so I'm liking this. I could give me more hybrid living droid monsters in Star Wars.
Give us
please.
more Yeah, Drew is right, and you're right, and yeah, more creatures, more planets. They're doing it, but yeah, and you're saying that this one feels a little smaller. I disagree with that sentiment in particular. I think that this season's building to the war for Mandalore. I think that's what's going to happen. I think that because like Navarro's so developed, he has that ally to call. They already did like the small time war stuff with Boba Fett on that the Mandalorian helped with, that Din Djarin helped with. I feel like they're building to an epic galactic or intergalactic conflict, possibly against the new regime for the surface of Mandalore. Who knows? But I think there's going to be. I think this finale is either going to be an epic battle for Mandalore, or it's going to be the episode right before, and we're going to have to wait for like the next season.
I hope that's the case. That sounds pretty cool. I guess my main thing is like within season 2 in particular, you had the kind of the like impending, or like the rush feeling of like we have to get Grogu to the Jedi because there's all these things that are happening. We have this plot, and like there was this sense of urgency to we got to get Grogu to these people, or else like we're gonna continuously be attacked or whatever. That I enjoyed. With this, I just like it's like I gotta go try. It might be building to something bigger, like you've said, that we're like that. I'm not aware of yet. But in the sense of where the show is yet, like Din Djarin wants to go to the mines of Mandalore, to his home planet, to bathe in the waters and become a Mandalorian again.
The living waters. The living waters.
Sure. I'm like, whatever. Like, do I really care if he becomes a full-on Mandalorian again? No, not really. Like, do I care that he took his helmet off? No, not really. Like,
Yeah, that's fair.
I just like to see him fight stuff and look cool. And if the show's gonna give me that, I'm cool with it. But there's just not that sense of like
That's fair.
urgency. I feel like that I had from at least season 2.
Yeah, that's fair. There's not the impending doom. There's not the dark organization after him, stuff like that. I get it. Bo-Katan, go hard. I liked Bo-Katan
Sure.
a lot. She was awesome in this episode. I loved her. She was great. It was really cool to watch her go down there, save his life. People pointed out that she can wield the saber better, that it's not heavy to her, which is interesting, and I'm sure we'll find out why.
Because he's not a Mandalorian anymore. Because he needs to bathe in the waters.
It could be the faith thing that could make sense. It could also, I mean, it probably has to do with fucking metachlorians or something, because that's stupid and I hate it.
Oh man, I want to see. I want to see Pedro Pascal get killed as the Mandalore, and then Baby Yoda, Grogu becomes the Mandalore, and he wields the Darksaber. That's all we need.
It'd be pretty cool. I'd watch
He
that.
gets a cool little helmet.
Yeah, it would be a Mandalorian helmet, but with spots, like a metal spot for the ears. They wouldn't be sticking out. They would be like covered in metal armor.
That's
Or
what
he cuts
actually
them
in
off.
in the Ratchet and Clank video games, Ratchet's armor has metal that goes over his ears in a similar way. That's pretty.
Nice.
Oh man,
The-
I'm a
the-
big old nerd. Anyways,
The other thing that I wasn't sure what I saw or what exactly it was, but when he got pulled into the living waters, Bo-Katan saved him. There was that thing down there, and the way she responded to it made me feel like it was significant in some way, because she was like surprised by it, like she was like she recognized it. She like looked at it like it was some dead god or something, and I was like, "What the hell is that?" You saw that thing, that giant thing that was in the water?
isn't it that creature that I feel like is like on the Mandalorian emblem all the time that has like those big tusks?
Yeah, it
That's
felt
what
like
looked
something
to
like
me.
that. It did look. Yeah, you're not wrong. It did kind of look like that. It also kind of like looked like its skull was the shape of their helmets. Almost, I don't know. It was interesting, and I feel like, and they didn't explain it, so I feel like we're gonna hear more about that later. But yeah, I thought Bo-Katan was great.
I just Googled Star Wars Bounty Hunter emblem, and it's like this creature, the Mythosaur, I guess is what it's called, and that's what it looked like to me, except it was really big. I don't know what a Mythosaur is.
The Mythosaur, isn't that Din Djarin's specific logo?
Oh, here we go. Mythosaurs were creatures of gigantic proportions found on the outer rim world of Mandalore. The mines of Mandalore were a mythosaur lair. So I was right, and I'm on Wikipedia right now, and it's getting its nerd on me
Oh
again.
no! Oh no! I hate it when they get their nerd on me.
So they basically saw the Mandalorian version of a dragon.
Yes, that's what it seems.
Yes.
That's what it seems like, and her reaction backed it up. But yeah, Katie Sackhoff rules. She's a science fiction legend, and it's just really cool to watch her blasting things with her guns and stuff. That was fun. And Grogu,
Yep, so it
Grogu
sounds
was
like-
also hilarious and cute. But yeah, certified fresh that episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and again, I like that these breeze by.
I second Jahan. It's fresh, certified fresh out the box. The 30-minute time frame, I was ready for it this week, so I didn't blink and miss the episode.
That's right. I forgot about that.
That's what happened to me
Oh,
last
boy.
week. Blink and it was over. This week, I actually got to watch and enjoy the whole thing.
Yeah.
Well, perfect. So, Mandalorian certified fresh so far. Season's in progress. I'll mention only one other thing that I watched, which is that I went to the theaters and saw Scream 6, the newest entry in the Scream franchise, which I thought was pretty good.
I really wanna
Scream
see it.
just
Does-
continues to be a consistently great horror franchise where all the entries are
It
at
might be
least
my
pretty
favorite.
good.
It might be my favorite horror franchise. I really like Ghostface. The original Scream is fantastic, and they're pretty good. And is this better or worse than the fifth one?
Better, in my opinion.
That's good. The fifth one was pretty good.
It manages to still build on the legacy of all 5 movies that come before it.
That's hard to
Um,
do.
very hard to do. I feel like this does it in a successful way, and it all takes place in New York City, which I thought was a pretty fun transition for the series. It gives it like kind of a bigger feel in a way.
That's the part I'm most excited for. Yeah, they finally get out of that small town.
And it surpassed its box office expectations for its opening weekend. It actually did better than the projections did, and I think it did better than even the past few movies have done on opening weekend.
It's because of Gina Ortega, dude. She's a draw. She's a national treasure, man.
Yeah,
she's become a real
really
national treasure between Wednesday and the Scream movie before this. She's just become she's going to be a superstar. And I heard that I saw some clips from her SNL run recently. They were really funny. So, like, it seems like she did a good job there, too.
They also just announced that she's officially signed on to do Beetlejuice 2, directed by Tim Burton. So, joining Michael Keaton and Winona Ryder, which, I mean, makes sense. She obviously just did Wednesday, so she's in the Tim Burton camp now. She's just like a perfect, has to be kind of
with Christina Ricci.
She's kind of seems like she might be his new muse in a way.
No, Christina Ricci wasn't in that movie.
No, she's an Addams fan.
Right. Right.
Did you guys end up watching that David Harbour ghost movie?
No. Was it good?
I started it. I watched about the first 20 minutes of it and never revisited it.
It was okay as a whole. There were, in particular, when you said the Beetlejuice, the making Beetlejuice 2, there's a really Beetlejuicy scene in that movie, and I would say that movie as a whole is like a huge nod to Beetlejuice. If you're a fan of Beetlejuice, check out
I'm
that
the king
movie.
of the rumba beat.
Yeah, I watched it. We watched it in one sitting. It wasn't great, but it wasn't bad either. I'd probably six it. I might tell somebody. Yeah, I'd probably six it. I'll six it.
It's pretty high. It's higher than I would expect for that movie. That movie looks bad.
Well, I mean, it's a family movie with a ghost, and so when you know it's going to be like a movie for a family, it's already going to be like, I don't know, kid friendly, right? So it's going to be bad, sort of.
Yeah, but on that note, I mean, Casper is a friendly ghost movie, and that movie was great.
So I would say that the David Harbour ghost movie is bad, sort of, but not bad.
I do like
it's family movie. It's family movie vibes. But yeah, it's Beetlejuicy. That's all I meant to say. I didn't mean to bring it up.
You've already said it twice. Do not.
Beetle.
Oh,
juicy.
Oh, I don't know if that counts. We'll find out.
I don't think it does. Oh shit, it does. It's Michael Keaton. He's in my house.
God, I'd be so happy. If Michael
Drew,
Keaton...
I think it's weird timing. Am I the only one who think it's weird timing for Scream 6 to come out in March? Doesn't that seem like that should be a Halloween-ish release?
Yes, but I know that the last one came out in January, so it's...
And they make their money, so...
Yeah, and it did really well, so I
don't
guess
feel like... I mean, horror movies don't always come out during Halloween. The ones that specifically reference Halloween absolutely do and should.
I'm kind of surprised that Scream's not an October-ish release, but like Drew said, they hit their goal, so they know what they're doing, and they've released the last one in January.
And that makes sense because Scream has, like, the mythos has nothing to do with Halloween, so I guess that's why it doesn't matter. Great October movie, though.
The first two were both December releases. The third one was a February release. The fourth was an April release, and then January and March for the last two. So it's historically never been a Halloween franchise.
Interesting. Yeah, it's like kind of a winter franchise almost. Either early winter or late winter.
Winter spooky.
All right. That leaves it to me. I've got one show to talk about. I told you guys I watched a bunch of garbage reality shows, but they're from like the past couple of years, and I don't really want to waste your time talking about old shows and old contestants. But I'll probably start talking about like modern release reality shows in the future, I would think, since we're watching so many now. So let's just talk about Outlast real quick. Outlast, we just binged on Netflix. We watched the entire thing in one weekend. If you're a fan of Alone, which I know I've talked about on here before, then I definitely recommend Outlast. It's the Alaskan wilderness. They drop 16 people in teams of 4 in the Alaskan wilderness. You have to survive. So you have to make your own fires, make your own house, hunt your own food, all that stuff. But you're allowed to switch teams. You can quit. You can switch teams. You can fire a flare at any time and go home. And so most shows like this, people are really trying to survive. But I'm not sure what's up with the casting in this show. People tap out so fast in this show. People are just gone. And then the dirty tactics start, where they're going across the river and stealing people's sleeping bags and destroying tents. So yeah, it gets messy. It's only like 8 or 10 episodes, so it goes by really fast. And
I almost watched this.
Yeah, I recommend Outlast. I really do. It was a fun watch. There are things that, as like a Survivor show guy, I didn't love. Like, they give them a ton of stuff. They give them sleeping bags, and they give them fishing line, and they give them hatchets, and they give them tarps. They give them all kinds of starting equipment. And then by like the end of week 1 or 2, they've got flotation tires and they've got crab traps. And so I was like, damn, you're not really surviving out here, are you? So from a survival aspect, it's not quite as grueling.
I mean, if you gave me all that shit, I would still die.
Yeah, I would freeze to death. I'm not a survivor, though.
That's true.
But yeah, as far as Survivor shows go, it seems like they get a lot of equipment.
See,
I
think
personalities are a lot of fun in this show.
You know what, Netflix, if you're listening, I have a pitch for you for one of these shows, right? All right, you have to let me and Gary participate. Drew, you can come too. I don't know if you want to, but right, you give all the contestants. Like, it's like Supermarket Sweep. Give them like 30 minutes in a Walmart, right? And then you shove them in a van, and you drop them off at some remote location. No one has survival training, right? And we all have to try to make it for like a week or two. And I think that would be... I think it would be like Supermarket Sweep meets Survivor. It'd be great. I think it would be primetime TV, dude.
It would be 2 weeks of me crying outside in the mud wanting to go home. I am not fucking survival tough, bro. I've seen these shows, you know, I get what it takes. And without a bunch of weed and a bunch of medication, I would be fucked by like day 3. Yeah, I'm not I enjoy watching survival.
I think some of those shows let you take your medication.
I would definitely need medication, man, without a doubt. But, you know, the reality shows are kind of fun for me to watch from the comfort of my own home, to see these people freezing to death in Alaska. I don't need to freeze.
See, me, I've always wanted to do, like, Naked and Afraid or something, you know?
Man, I would hate doing one of those, like trying to survive in the Amazon rainforest covered in bugs for, like, 30 days.
I know that Naked and Afraid, they do the one for the viewers that aren't survivalists, so I would want to do something like that. It's like, I saw it on TV, it doesn't look that hard, and then I die. I think that'd be a really fun way to die.
I just, like, my whole goal in a survival show would be, like, I'm not going to be the first person to go.
Drew, if you
that would
had
be it.
If you had a shot to be on, like, Survivor, you would go.
Absolutely.
Yeah. See, I feel the same way about like Naked and Afraid or one of the lesser shows.
I watched those shows enough that I would go into it. I would absolutely overplay at the beginning and probably be out pretty early.
Why don't you? Have you ever applied?
Or I'd play Super Paranoid. I have not.
You should apply, man. I think you could have a shot.
I would go on
every year. I consider applying, and I'm like, no, because this is the year I'm gonna get in shape. I'm gonna lose weight. I'm gonna get in the right.
Do
shape,
it on
and then
Survivor.
I'll apply, and then I never get in shape. And
Drew, when they do submissions this year, let me know. I'll help you put together your video
portfolio.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah, you should apply, man. I want that for you.
I applied for the Circle last year, and the year before that, I'm on their maybe list.
Oh, that'd be cool. I'd watch you on that.
Love it.
Yeah, I could just
I'd watch
inside,
you. I'd watch you sit there and be a huge bitch to strangers through a TV.
Yes, I would love to be a huge bitch to strangers. That's one of the things.
It's so
I'm
good.
best at.
Would you want to be you, or would you pretend to be like a Spice Girl or something?
Me. I would be me. There's no one that I would rather be than me. And I would just be such a dipshit the whole, because I am one. You know what I mean? I'm a total dipshit. Nobody would believe I was me. I don't think.
That was my favorite. Was when the two people were pretending to be one of the Spice Girls.
Yeah, that was good.
That was really funny. Like, there was two people sharing a room, and they were both like pretending to be the Spice Girl together.
Anyone buy it?
Yeah, people bought it.
Well, no, there were two Spice Girls that were in a room being somebody that wasn't a Spice Girl.
That's what it was.
Oh.
That's what it was.
Yeah. They had Spice Girls on one season, and they were playing a catfish. And if you didn't figure out which person was the Spice Girls by the end of 2 days, then you got extra money to the pool.
Yeah, that's what it was. They knew
Interesting.
the Spice Girls were there. Yeah, that's
They
what.
knew the
Yeah,
Spice
that was a
Girls
good
were
season.
Somebody. Hmm.
I actually like the
They
Circle.
did.
Of all the reality shows, the Circle is fine. I like it.
I figured out what it is I like about The Circle, and then we'll wrap up because I'm going over and I'm just babbling about reality shows. But what I like about shows like that, about The Circle in particular, is the rules change. And when the rules change on a show, I think that's really exciting. When it seems like the show and the staff, the management, production, is interacting with what's going on in the show. They're not just letting the show run some kind of
Yeah.
formula that gets stale. It's nice to get in there and mix things up by hand sometimes, and I like when a show can do that.
They do that all the time. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
Mm-hmm. Mixing it up like personally by hand, it really makes a show more interesting instead of randomizing stuff.
Yeah. Well, that was a good talk. All of it. We had a bunch of good talks. We talked about everything. We all got a couple shots in on everything, which is pretty cool.
We didn't really get any
Talked about
video
everything,
games.
everywhere, all at once.
We didn't get any video
Yeah.
games this week, but it's not a big video game week. I was on Game Pass today, looking before I got on, and there's not a lot happening.
I've been playing a lot of Snap this season. I'm already gold rank. I'm trying to hit that plat soon. I've really been. They're doing Days of Future Past as the theme this month. It's pretty cool.
I think I'm just about to be gold. Actually, I hit platinum last season.
Yeah, I've been playing a lot. So I've been doing that, and I've been like watching Doctor Who. So I've been doing a lot. I've been playing Midnight Suns again. So I haven't. Not a lot of new ground. I have been playing games. Hopefully, I'll get some new stuff. I do plan on playing. I bought Horizon Zero Dawn for Steam. So I'm going to check that out. Because I had played it previously on PlayStation Network, but my controller didn't work for it. So hopefully, I'll be able to talk about that more.
That is
Stuff
a
like
good
that.
game. I think you will like it.
From what I played, I liked it a lot. Yeah. But yeah, I guess that's it for this week. This is episode 78
78.
of Fresh Out the Podcast. I have been the board game guru and game master extraordinaire, Johananon at RockFact on Twitter.
It's been me, Casualty CDG. You can find me at Casualty CDG on basically all the social media things. If you want to see me painting miniatures or find out more about Jahan and I's streaming schedule, check me out at Casualty CDG. We're streaming every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then we record this every Tuesday. So really just follow us and keep your eyes open because we're always around trying to produce fresh, new content. It's comedy, it's improv, it's horror, it's everything. Just check us out, man. We're just trying to have a good time over here and trying to entertain and inspire you.
And I am Drew Munhausen at Drew Munhausen on Twitter. Thank you all for listening to episode 78 of Fresh Out the Podcast.
Stay fresh, everybody.
Or don't.